You're not a real gamer. I'm so sick of all these people that think they're gamers. No, you're not. Most of the time, you're not even close to being gamers. I see these people saying, I put well over 100 hours in this game. It's awesome. That's nothing. Most of us can easily put 300 plus hours into all of our games. I see people who only have a Nintendo Switch and claim to be gamers. Yeah, come talk to me when you pick up a PS4 controller. Then we can be friends. And also, dear all women, Pokemon is not a real game. Animal Crossing is not a real game. The Sims is not a real game. Mario is not a real game. Stardew Valley is not a real game. And mobile games are not real games. Put down the baby games and play something that requires challenge and skill for once. Sincerely, all of the actual gamers. Interesting. Now, I'm probably safe in assuming that was just a joke. I originally saw this screen capped on Twitter, but I believe it originated on this copypasta thread on Reddit, meaning that it's a post meant to be copied and shared and typically isn't cited to be just from one person. The post is fun to mock because it's exaggerated, but only slightly above the rhetoric you see posted on any gaming subreddit or forum on the internet, making it really believable. It's the perfect storm of angry video game opinions, which is why I've seen it go viral on most forms of social media. Its exaggerated humor comes from a very real place of people dismissing the hobbies of others just because they don't fit a particular mold. Stick to the status quo and all that. When showing this post to some of my friends, I noticed that I saw a bit of my own thinking paralleled back to me. Although unintentional, I would hear people say stuff like, "Wait, this game? Why was this included?" Again, I found myself thinking the same thing, but why do we think this way at all? It reveals a subconscious thought that we have picked up from somewhere. Some games are acceptable to brush off as not a real video game, and others are not. If anyone were to ask me outright if I thought any video game wasn't real or valid, I would laugh and say that all games are real games. But that's not how I and many others reacted to this post. Sure, we defended one game from being on this list, but there were others most people glossed over. The parallels don't stop there, though. This post also points out the test of what is considered a true gamer, in many ways most people might not think about. Gameplay hours, game genres, and the infamous console wars. It is a deep dig at the endless fights you see on online gaming communities. I've criticized myself for every single one of them, and according to this post, I would be considered a true gamer, but I've never called myself that. The fleeting moment of feeling like I've passed some sort of test is always overshadowed by how ridiculous it is to take pride in it, followed by me testing myself a few weeks later. It's a cycle I don't think I will grow out of, but I can recognize and stop perpetuating, even unintentionally. To prove my point, I'll take you through the final breaking point for my dilemma. A little backstory on myself. My brother used to play a lot of video games growing up, and I, being the annoying little sister, would always beg to tag along. When he eventually moved out, I was passed down his Xbox 360 a few years too late, and I have gathered a few other less than ideal consoles from garage sales and Christmas presents. It wasn't until preparing for college that I realized I needed to buy a personal laptop to do work and could invest in a laptop that also allows me to play video games instead of overheating the second you turn on The Sims. Everything changed that day. I bought 8 games on Steam and I finally felt like a real gamer. At least for a little bit. I don't really feel any different playing games now than I did before, but let's look at what I was playing at the time. I want to compare 2 games I was obsessed with, one before getting my rite of passage into the gaming community and one after. Let's start with the former. Animal Crossing New Horizons is the 5th installment in the Animal Crossing series, releasing on March 20th, 2020 for Nintendo Switch. You play as a person wanting to take part in a travel package, and you leave your presumed ordinary life to live on an island, but you're not alone on this adventure. Your neighbors and the businesses on the island are all anthropomorphic animals, with you and other players being the only humans. This might seem weird from an outside perspective, but no one mentions or minds. You spend your time making your island how you want it, leaning into its simulation style of gameplay. The main unique characteristic of Animal Crossing is how the clock moves. In most other games, even those in the simulation genre, the clock moves at a fast pace so you can go about your activities in quick succession. In Animal Crossing, however, the clock is in sync with your real-life clock. The day and night cycle is in tandem with what time you decide to play, and even the seasons correspond to what hemisphere you are playing in. You can desync the clock if you wish, but on the baseline you are playing a simulated lifestyle to your own, but on an island with fun neighbors you can interact with and places to decorate. There is no end goal to the game, but there are many goals you can set for yourself if you so choose. Some people share their designs of clothes or pictures of their themed islands. Others spend hours searching for their favorite villagers or farming money to spend on whatever in-game items they wish. I personally set out to catch every possible bug and fish in the game so I could donate every entry to the local museum. The great thing is, you don't have to do any of that, or you could choose to do all of it. I would say I played the game a bit differently to most of my friends. They are a lot more casual with their game time and have other priorities, but I really leaned into the simulation of everyday life, and I made it a part of my routine for over a year. I racked up an embarrassing but impressive 770 hours in the game. I have enough money to buy any item I want for myself and any of my friends. I have most of the achievements in the game. Despite all of this, I still felt a bit of shame when saying this is my favorite video game. I've seen countless posts like the one shown in the beginning about this game specifically, so it's easy for me to write it off myself. But did any of this actually change when playing other games? Let's take a look at my obsession after getting my gaming laptop, Yakuza 0. Yakuza 0 is a prequel to at the time, 5 mainline Yakuza games, releasing in North America on January 24, 2017. I had watched someone play through the series when it came out, but now 4 years later I was able to play it myself along with the other games in the series. As you might be able to tell, this is a harsh contrast to Animal Crossing, the game I just showed you. There is a warning page when you try to view the game on Steam, where you have to enter your date of birth to even be able to view. It's a beat-em-up style fighting game with a 30-hour story that is filled with violence and gore. Every surface-level observation you can make about the game shows the epitome of masculinity. The story itself is a dramatic Japanese crime drama that prioritizes family over all else. The bonds you make in the game serve to help you more than the greed of the people in power, and you learn to forge your own path. It's intense, dramatic, and heartfelt all at its core. This is a bit contrasted, or I would argue enhanced, by the side quests in the game. While the story takes 30 hours, I have spent 100 hours in this game completing every side quest and sub-story. You are encouraged to roam the streets of Kamurocho and are constantly prompted into helping random citizens in the town going about their daily lives. These can range from helping a child to get back his stolen game to entering a bowling competition only to realize the prize is a live chicken who then becomes a manager for your real estate business. While these sub-stories are funny and goofy in nature, I still wouldn't say they take away from the value or realness of the game. It's one of the reasons I and many other people picked up the games in the first place. I waited years to play this game. As soon as I got my laptop, telling myself that I can finally play a real game for once. But what was different about this game compared to the rest I have played? Like I mentioned before, I didn't feel any different after playing either of these games. I've always liked games, and neither game changed or enhanced that idea in my mind. I'd take it a step further and say I didn't really play either of these games all that differently. I'm not saying I was giving fruit to my enemies in Yakuza or I was going around starting fights in Animal Crossing, but I had a similar approach to both of these games. In fact, I have a similar approach to every game I play, no matter how small. I set my own goal for myself in an attempt to get every piece of the story as possible in a given game. I complete as much of the game as I can without getting too frustrated. The only achievements I have left in Animal Crossing are the ones that are dependent on random choice or having to play the game a specific time once per week. The 2 sub-stories I have left in Yakuza 0 are nearly impossible boss fights that I would have to spend hours grinding to max level to even have a chance at finishing. I'll admit there's a point where games just don't become fun for me anymore, so I move on. But if my game habits weren't the difference between these games, what was? Was it money? While I did spend a lot more money on this laptop than any other console I've ever had, Animal Crossing alone was more expensive than all 8 games I bought off of Steam combined. Was it time? I mentioned before that I played 770 hours in Animal Crossing, yet only 100 in Yakuza 0. Even combining every Yakuza game I've played wouldn't come close to 770 hours. You could argue there is more strategy to apply when playing Yakuza, but I can assure you that I have no strategy when mashing buttons and buying all the health items. While all of these factors might play a small part in why I feel the way I do, I would argue the people enjoying the games and how they are viewed within the community is more influential. You don't have to be an expert at these games to guess the average person who enjoys them. Just by looking at the games, you can tell that one is on the feminine side while the other is more masculine. It's safe to assume that on average more women play Animal Crossing and more men play Yakuza. Women have had a long history of being ostracized within the gaming community. The games they play and the women themselves are seen less than others automatically. The post read at the beginning was jokingly directed only at women, pointing out how many people try to test feminine-presenting people to make sure they really like what they say they do. There's also examples of famous women in the gaming sphere, such as Felicia Day being mocked on Twitter for being a glorified booth babe, despite her being so influential to the gaming culture at the time. I don't think it would be a stretch to say Animal Crossing has been shrugged off because of its majority female fan base. I also think it's the main reason that I myself feel weird saying I'm a part of the gaming community. I believe I heard so many people write off Animal Crossing that I subconsciously enforced that idea too. And I thought that playing a game that catered towards a male audience would make me feel like a part of the community, but it was never going to. The problem is how I personally viewed gaming culture. When you think of the word gamer, you probably think of a cisgender, heterosexual, white, male teenager who is screaming things that every mother would disapprove of during a gamer rage. I believe I felt out of place because I don't check off all those boxes, but most people who I know that like video games don't either. This outdated image has led to a lot of people having say and marketing power over the entire gaming sphere since it was created. The problem I was encountering wasn't because I was playing the wrong games or using the wrong console or any other excuse I disproved in this video. The problem was the image of who is acceptable in the community. Most people you meet don't fit into the stereotypical gamer mold, but the image is still so persuasive. It decides what games are made, how they are advertised, who gets to make the games, and ultimately who gets to play them both casually and professionally. The streaming platform Twitch is mainly used to watch people professionally live stream playing video games, but out of the top 100 highest earning Twitch streamers, only 3 were women, yet you see a disproportionate amount of hate being thrown at female streamers. It goes even further to the game developing companies themselves. Activision Blizzard, which has made many famous games such as Overwatch, Call of Duty, and Candy Crush Saga, has recently been exposed to its awful mistreatment of women and minority staff members, culminating in a large sexual harassment lawsuit. Time and time again, you heard women come out about its frat boy culture in the office, making it extremely exclusive and actively harmful to the women working there. The problem reaches far beyond what I can go into, but it starts small. I've never been confronted by anyone telling me I don't belong or I can't call myself a gamer, but they didn't have to. You see it online or catch glimpses of it in chat rooms. It promotes the idea that some people aren't welcome and some people are, which can spiral into cases like that lawsuit. Well, what can we do to combat this? Recognizing your own criticisms is a great start. I've told how I brushed off games I really enjoy in the past just because of this mindset. Recognizing when that happens both personally and with the people around you is a great step to take. Also, supporting female Twitch streamers and game developers. Here are some people I personally watch or have heard good things about if you want to check them out. Highlighting the voices of those overlooked within any community is always a good idea. Besides that, just play the games you enjoy or find some that personally interest you if you haven't given games a try. There are so many types of games, big and small, that I believe there is something for everyone. Video games are so much bigger than online first-person shooters that most people think about, but those can still be creative and unique too. Games are for everyone, and I hope that I've proven that today. Don't let the stereotype of the gamer scare you away from finding a new interest. Thank you.